Hi, how's it going? I'm Surin Saran. Got into producing after meeting a crazy old man after graduating SC Film School. Been enjoying my time with my own production company since then. Having a good time with these guys. Made a movie together. Kurt and I are working on a couple other things. And yeah, we'll answer all of your questions about the indie filmmaking world and how wonderful it is.
I'm Kern Saxton. I graduated from North Carolina School of the Arts, moved here, met this guy. We started making some low-budget horror movies together, and those didn't quite pan out. Then we met this guy, and we made a less of a low-budgeted thriller that did pan out, and now I'm here and just want to share the experience.
Wait, it panned out?
Oh. It got sold.
I'm Destin Pfaff. Screenwriter was what I started out doing. Kind of segued into doing being talent on a television show, reality TV show for about 6 years. The passion's always been producing. As Kern mentioned, we tried to make a few films that just didn't get off the ground. Got some studio stuff option, didn't get off the ground, didn't get made. And then we made Sushi Girl, which was a good success for us, at least to actually get films done and understand distribution, understand everything, because we did it almost all ourselves. And now I've got projects with him and projects with a lot of other people, and knock on wood, it all works out.
So you three all know each other?
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, and I have to do my own introduction. Damn, my friend Sam was supposed to be here. He's so much better at talking about me than I am. All right, so I've been an independent producer from the time I graduated USC, and I won Sundance.
Go Trojans.
What?
Go Trojans.
Go Trojans.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. Go Trojans. It's one word. Go Trojans. So I produced Bryan Singer's first film, if you know who he is. It was called Public Access, and then I produced his second film called The Usual Suspects, and then I produced Chris McQuarrie's film called The Way of the Gun. He just did Jack Reacher. He's going to do MI5. And I won Sundance with a film I produced called Captain Abu Ra'ed, which was the first Jordanian feature film. And I've been to China, and I've had a film here at HollyShorts, a documentary for Tom Shoes. And if that's enough, okay.
Well, we feel awkward now.
I just hate talking about myself.
Go ahead.
I think we're interested in maybe making money and telling stories and all that kind of stuff.
You were misinformed.
Yeah, I don't know. The telling stories, maybe. The making money, I'm not sure. But
why did I become a producer? I did feel, right out of film school, I wanted to be a DP. There's my director from my USC film. He works across the street. I invited him. We did a documentary together. I wanted to be a documentary cameraman. Then when I graduated, I could only get a job in editing, and I got Amblin, and I really liked editing. And then I really got involved with scripts, and it was the one job where I could do every job and give input, but not have to take full responsibility for anything except the budget. And then I hired a line producer and blamed him if he fucked up.
Look at that. Perfect timing. Thank you. My name is Lanre Idewu. I am the COO of Queen Nefertari Productions. We're a independent financing and packaging company. Yeah, we're here to talk about VOD versus theatrical, right? Yes. Okay, cool. All right, very cool. Where are you from? Everywhere. Germany? Okay. Did we do just an audience breakdown of who's who? Everybody. Okay, so they all see. I'm telling you, Hollywood is this small. Oh, well, okay. See, we're the two outsiders now. To start, okay. Well, can I get a show of hands of just who's who? Like, how many producers do we have in the room that are strictly kind of, budget line, make a film, put it together, kind of producers? Okay, 1, 2, okay. How many are directors? Directors. Okay, cool. All right. Any distribution people, any people that work in distribution or agencies, agents, any actors? All right. Anybody just hanging out because they got lost and it's cool? There we go. All right. Thank you. Cool. All right. Fantastic. Thank you. So that was my first question. So I just got to pop it off, huh? Okay. So then, well, let's find out what people are here for. I'm assuming you guys want to know, by virtue of the title of the film of the panel, should you take your film?
Brad Pitt has a question.
Oh, hello, Brad.
Well, I can definitely tell you the true story, the Hollywood true story with our movie. We were all excited about.
Do you want to?
Well, I think it's good. I mean, we can give you the ups and downs of it. I think VOD is fantastic, but you have to make sure that you have an arrangement with your distributor through the actual people that are going to be distributing the movie, the actual platforms, the multi-system operators, the cable companies, the satellite companies, all the people that are actually physically going to be putting the movie out there, because it's no good to get distribution and have access on those platforms if you don't have any promotion, because that's exactly what happened with us. We were everywhere on, Time Warner and Comcast and Cox and DirecTV. We were everywhere. We were in all the right, kind of folders. We were there where our movie was available to be purchased. Well, most of the right folders for a little while at least. But we really didn't get a lot of backing as far as advertising, and so our sales were incredibly small compared to what we should have done and to what much lesser movies with much lesser casts got, because they just had a little more promotion or they had a little more of the right kind of strategy going on for marketing. So I think you can make a lot of money with VOD, but you really have to think about the strategy, talk to your distributor, and make sure you've got things in place to make sure you're going to get the promotion to drive the sales. Because without the promotion, you could be, in every theater across America, but if there's no billboards, there's no posters, there's no trailers, there's no, radio, there's nothing running, no one's going to come out and see it.
And it depends, though, because sometimes people make movies for different reasons. Sometimes people make movies for money, and other people make movies just for, just to get the story out there. And so you have to kind of consider that and decide that up front with your team and your investors, because they want to know that too, I guarantee you. We can use social media. We're at a point where we have huge tools where you can actually go direct to your audience. You can find your audience and go directly to them, and not necessarily always depend on a distributor to do it for you, because they just kind of hike up the prices and get in the middle.
True, but
Sometimes, but they have a lot of reach.
Yeah, but with social media, it's usually helpful if you have like a fan base already. Like because you could go on Twitter and you only have 20 followers and it's not going to get you anything. But you
don't just
you got to build your network. You've got to. It's a lot of hustle. The other thing I would say about VOD, if you're going to do VOD as a component with theatrical, I would just make sure you've got the timing down right, because there's a lot of times. If sometimes a movie comes out on VOD before theatrical, it gets pirated and you're done.
Yeah.
So.
Are you guys missing the festival circuit angle as well? Because that's sort of another way to get.
It's kind of hit and miss, actually.
I'd love to talk about festivals. Well, festivals is really interesting, and a perfect example is HollyShorts. Kern and I did a movie called Double Black with one of the guys in Sushi Girl, David Desmalchian, and we had a lot of fun here at the festival. It was great play. It was great for the movie. It actually helped us get hooked up with Shorts HD to distribute that film. And it's been like a year now, and this is like something we made for $5,000, was it? And we're actually now starting to see a tiny trickle of income from a short. And to make any money from a short is incredible, but it was because of this festival that helped us get that distribution. And
It only took a year to get on iTunes.
It only took a year to get on iTunes, but what do you expect when you made it for $5,000? But I mean, what I was going to say about festivals were the reason it worked out is because, Theo Dumont is a great friend of ours. He's one of the most awesome publicists in, the city, and he's a guy that if he says he's going to do it, he does it. He was our publicist on Sushi Girl. He got us tons of stuff. And the point I'm trying to make is, if you're going to go the festival route and you're going to really push, make sure you know who you're dealing with at the festival, and make sure you've got, those type of relationships, because that's going to make all the difference as to the attention your film's going to get and how the festivals can help your film. It's great to do, 30. I get a lot of people that will come to me with films that they've made, and they'll say, how do I distribute this? How do I make money from this? And they've got 30 sets of laurels from festivals you've never heard of, from really interesting local festivals, but that mean nothing to a distributor, that mean nothing to a lot of consumers or even art people. And, to have that page of all those laurels, it's great. But, just one solid laurel from, you can name the top 10 festivals and, how much that means for distribution. But, of course, getting into those is a giant political game, and, a gambling can be a crapshoot. But it is a lot about relationships, a lot about history, and a lot about, previous films, and if you're an alumni of that festival and stuff. So I think it's a really important component for any filmmaker to consider, but to really look at relationships and talk to your sales agent, your distributor, your reps about who they know, and make sure that if you're going to go that route, that you've got a strong play, for whatever those festivals are, because it can make a world of difference for distribution.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it really is at the end of the day about who you know. With festivals, it's not this open, kind of place you can just, anyone can just go in and, get a movie in Sundance. It's very tough. The margins are ridiculous. There's something like 8,000 features a year submitted, and there's a lot. Like 5,000. Yeah, and there's only, I think it was like a couple hundred total spots for everything. Yeah, if that. So you've got, it's not like you can, if you can't make a movie going, I'm going to go win Sundance, because that just isn't realistic. But it's a good attitude, but if you get in, yeah, you've got something going, but it's just tough. And like Cern said, a lot of times it's related to who you know going into that situation as well. So I would say use film festivals, any film festival, to meet other filmmakers and build your network.
I agree with everything Kern said up into that last statement, which is, film festivals are great for your film if that film festival is appropriate for your film. Know your film's identity, know how your distributor is going to market your film, know exactly, if you don't have distribution yet, know exactly how you want to target distributors or have your sales agent target distributors, because if you don't know the identity of your film and you're going off to Fantasia or wherever else you're going, you're actually doing bad for yourself, even if you won. It's like, if that's the type of film you are and that's the type of movie you want to be pushed as, that's great. But just be aware of what you're doing.
They've done well for me. I mean, having two films win Sundance, one won the Audience Award and one won the Grand Jury Prize. But at the end of the day, it really didn't mean anything. It's just bragging rights. Both of the films... Not Miramax. No, we barely got a distributor. So, yeah. But I was really cocky when we won. I thought Miramax was going to take us for sure. I think now film festivals mean something, and on the film I just directed a movie, and we're in post right now, and that film, if that gets some accolades from Sundance or something, it'll really give it some validation, because it's a very small movie. So I think to give it an attention and some interest, it'll really get, it will create awareness. So I think in terms of creating awareness, it was great. Like when Sundance, when we won Sundance the first time, we got a really great mention in all the newspapers across the country. So that was kind of cool. Sure. Thanks, Brian. Got any other good questions? There's something interesting that I just learned about, though, and this might be the future, where people, there's this company now, and I don't know if they've launched yet or not, and maybe somebody here knows about it because I just learned about it, where you take your Twitter or your Facebook and you actually are like a feed through. You're like, so you post, hey, check out this movie, and I would actually make money off of listing somebody's film on my page, and if depending on how many people clicked on it and watched it and paid for it, I would actually make money. So we all become exhibitors, and that to me is a really fascinating kind of thing. Does anybody know about this company? Doesn't it sound like a cool idea? What? Several companies. And you make money as people watch the movie through you. It's like I have a friend who has a blog, and if somebody buys something through his blog, he makes money. So it's essentially the same thing, but just for every individual. So if you want to get your short, people are liking it, they can put it up on their page, and then you make money, both the filmmaker, the distributor, and the person that posted it. So I think that's really the way a lot of these things are going. So. Yeah, I don't know about that. I heard about the Veronica Mars thing, though. Did you guys know about that one? That was like a huge thing. Yeah, that was Kickstarter. So all these people wanted to see the next Veronica Mars movie, and they all kicked in money.
Well, I'll just go back to your question about film festivals, and I think everything as filmmakers, it's really about creating a quilt. So everything is a patch in your quilt, and you want to maximize each thing. So getting into a film festival is a big thing. You want to get there. You want to maximize. You want to maximize your networking opportunities. Even if it's a small podunk town, you want to make sure that the mayor of that small town is going to push your movie when it comes out. You're going to make sure that all the residents know about your film. Because really it comes down to, and the case that you guys just mentioned, you're really going to go direct to consumer. There's going to be a point where I believe a lot of distributors are going to close up shop because we're going to be able to reach out and touch each person. Each person, everybody.
The mayor of San Diego, he touched each person.
That is true. Thank you for that. But yeah, so every little thing we do is a patch in the quilt. So every film festival, every contact you make, every person, every Twitter follower, so you have to get out there and really, really maximize it. If you meet a person, they may be an actor, and you guys click, and then they might have 15,000 followers. Hey, maybe that's a person to stay in touch with and a person to develop a relationship with. So every little thing is just a step in the right direction. So if you can maximize each step, then I think you really put yourself in a winning position, and then you get the attention of the distributors, of other exhibitors, of people who want to work with you, actors, other producers, and what have you. So I say it's all about maximizing opportunity.
I can add a little story to that. So I produced a movie called The Way of the Gun, which none of you have heard of, but everybody knows the cast. James Caan, Taye Diggs, Benicio del Toro, Ryan Phillippe. Oh, you saw it in the theater? You did? Oh, thanks. I didn't know anybody was there. I saw it. I was the only one. But the popcorn was good. But that was a movie where you guys can vouch for me. It had a lot of guns in it. And Sarah Silverman in her little cute debut. But that movie, I told the distributor a million times, our audience are gun fanatics. Let's go to gun shows across the country. There's gun shows every weekend. Let's have a booth there. Let's give out posters. And, they had all the promo stuff. They had shot classes and all this stuff. I'm like, let's go create awareness at the gun shows. And they weren't having any of it. And it just would have been really like a nice grassroots. So if you know that there's a particular audience that is going to respond to it, your film, you got to go right to the center and hit those people. And it turns out that cops and military guys love The Way of the Gun. Like, they've all seen it. And I don't know if gun people are into Sarah Silverman, but have you seen the film? I think the Sarah Silverman part is on YouTube. You could check it out. It's worth watching. Yeah. The gun people will probably want to shoot her.
One thing I was going to just say about what these guys have been talking about reaching your audience. I've got a couple of good indie filmmaker friends that have, made some pretty nice genre films for a very specific audience, let's say in the $300,000 to $600,000 range. And they didn't really want to do distribution. They weren't really getting any good offers, any good minimum guarantees with, kind of the majors and the mini majors and the good quality independent distributors. So I know one of them, they went on Kickstarter. They said, hey, we want some money to market this movie. We want to do this. And they gave away a lot of really cool stuff from the film, cool autograph stuff. And they realized that this kind of very, Bible Belt audience they had for it, and not, necessarily like religious or anything, but just kind of conservative people interested in stories about kind of, guys from a dairy farm and, kind of the rural part of America, really resonated. And, they ended up, I think, tripling their goal. And they've now been doing screenings all across the country in these kind of like small towns, because it's a very like small town America kind of, stuck in the middle of nowhere type thing. And the movie has now, done, it's not done well yet, but it's begun to recoup its budget. And no, they're selling DVDs. They're kind of like, if you imagine doing a little mini road show where they go into a town, they set up shop at a theater, they sell a bunch of tickets, they meet people. I don't know if they're giving away gravy boats or anything, but it's been working out. And, they've been actually making money theatrically by partnering with these towns, that really, that's their audience, that's their demo. They knew how to connect with them, and they started it all with Kickstarter, realizing that they had an audience and that it was going to work to do what they wanted to do.
I see. I love hearing stories like that. That's really inspiring. And but yeah, just going to your audience instead of trying to make them come to you, it's a great plan, and something like that can just blow up. Because Hollywood, like, I know studio executives, and when I go to a movie on opening night, rarely do I ever see the studio executive there at the theaters here. They just don't. They don't seem to actually go to the movie with the public, and sometimes they don't.
I don't think they like movies.
What?
I don't think they like movies.
Yeah. But I feel like especially my experience with The Way of the Gun was they were so they really thought it was something different than it was in terms of the marketing, and it really hurt the film. And I think the film really could have had legs if we went right to the right people. If we went to the film festivals, they said no, we did Blair Witch, and that made the most money ever. We know what we're doing. And I just would have liked to have seen like a little bit more, like a real grassroots really hit the audience that we were going for. Like, for example, say you're into a certain kind of cars or hot rods or that kind of thing. Like, go specifically to the people that are going to respond to a movie about hot rods. It's simple. I mean, but although, like Hunger Games, more people got into archery after watching Hunger Games. But, I mean, this is kind of the flip of that.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I think it comes down to a point where a lot of the times as filmmakers, and I'm a producer, but I've done probably every job on set several times. As filmmakers, we work so hard just on every step of the process. So coming up with a concept, getting the script done, editing it, rewriting, taking notes, then finally getting a little bit of money to get something together, to piece it by our bootstraps, to film it, and our cousin Vinny's doing this and mom's doing catering. We do so much and we work so hard just to get to that step, to that final point where we do get distribution. And then at that point, it's like we want to take a big breath and say, oh, finally I passed it off the distributor, they're going to take care of it. Not even close. You have to really, like, that's when you have to work even harder. And we all want to take a breath, but, like, that's the point. We can't rely on, like, for example, the gun show. And we had a film called Brass Teapot that we trusted the distributors to do what they said they were going to do, and we left it in their hands. And we said, okay, cool. We're good. We're going to go on to the next project, or we're going to take a quick breath. But I caution you, don't ever, 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 ever stop pushing that film, because they are never going to work or care about your film as much as you do.
They'll care for like the 10 minutes you're in their office, and then there's going to be somebody else that's waiting in the lobby, and then they're going to care about them and completely forget all about you. Film distribution sucks balls. No offense, nothing against our distributors. Love them. They're great. But generally speaking, distributors just really just, it's, as you so eloquently said, the fun part, the hard part, the blood part is making the movie. And you're so, it's such a wonderful, to be vulgar, come moment. It's just this great, awesome, happy thing. And then the problem is, though, like you said, your job's not done. And no matter how much you know what your movie is, someone is going to come in, take it over, and they're probably going to fuck it up. They're probably going to release it wrong. They're probably going to do something wrong. Something's going to happen, and you're going to kick and scream. But if you kick and scream while it's happening, you at least may be the squeakiest wheel to get at least a little bit of push in the direction you want to go. So you can at least know that you did everything you could to get the movie to where it needs to be, both for the pleasure of having people see it, but importantly for your investors and your career, it being a financial success. The industry has changed just completely. The past year, the industry has changed, and it's always going to be changing. And it's distribution channels are changing. What theatrical means is it's almost not even a conversation anymore, because unless you're a $60 million 3D sci-fi IMAX adventure that eventually is going to be in your face and touching you and everything else that's going to be happening, your movie's not going to go theatrical. You can four-wall it, but it's just not. And it's just soon your movie's not going to go DVD. DVD expenses now for a movie, it's just too expensive. Nobody's buying them. Blu-ray, maybe you'll have a limited 30,000 run. That's probably going to die too. You're going to get VOD. Somebody's going to help you distribute it, or you're going to self-distribute it. And right now, self-distributing, there's just not the money in it. It's just not there yet. 5 years from now, maybe. But it's hard. Right now, it kind of sucks for all of us. But, stick through it.
I'm going to cry myself now. Wow.
Brutal.
But I think you did say something that's kind of interesting in terms of the self-distribution. So, has anybody here had a film on iTunes? Anybody? You had a film on iTunes. And how much actually trickles down to you?
Not a lot.
Not a lot, meaning if I have to watch shit for $4, how much do you get?
Well, if you take your $4 and you take what your distributor's taking off that, which is what probably 30%, plus whatever the fees are going to be for iTunes a show, which is maybe 10, 20%, you're looking at 50%, plus their cut of that, which is probably half, you're looking at 25%, which is probably whatever you're left over, so maybe $1.
But you can't just get your movie on iTunes. You can't just go to iTunes yourself and say, hey, put this movie on it. You got to go through an aggregator, and they take, no matter what you do, someone's going to take a piece of that pie. Not just iTunes.
But with every scenario, and because I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with the film I directed. If I want to put it up on Netflix or how to do that.
You're not going to see any money from Netflix either.
It's a feature.
Yeah. I've got a guy who could help you out. We'll talk after this.
Okay.
No,
guy. I'll meet him in the alley.
It's interesting because it's like we're talking about independent distribution. We're talking about models that work, and I run a production company. We also do rentals, services, all this different stuff. So I've got about 3,000 clients that over the years come to me, and a lot of these people are indie filmmakers that make these movies anywhere from $20,000 to $1 million. They'll rent equipment. They'll come back later and say, hey, I had success with distribution. I got this going. I didn't. Can you help? And one of our clients, they did this movie about $350,000, ridiculous, horror movie. I swear the title should have been Blackula Part 2 or something. It's called Teeth and Blood. It's an interesting movie. It's very funny. You know Teeth and Blood? No. Anyway, so they can't really get distribution from the mainstream world. And they've got a lot of connections, and they've been going to Sony Screen Gems and Lionsgate and all these other companies, and they're just kind of being told, well, we like it, but no, not really for us, because it's very indie. It's very rough around the edges. It was one of the first films they did, and they saved a lot of money getting it done, but it actually doesn't look too bad. So I have a guy, and he's a distributor, but he's an independent, kind of a maverick guy that I think has a good perspective of the world we're talking about now for independent distribution, where he can go direct to Netflix, Redbox, Walmart, Target, Best Buy. grocery stores. He can get things directly there. So you're only going to pay one fee to him, and you're going to pay your manufacturing cost. You're not going to pay any marketing budget, no ridiculous, fees to keep the lights on at a big studio or something like that. And you know that, there's an immediate sort of transparency there that you don't get from a mid-level or a larger distributor. Now, he can also go and make those deals with those companies to get DVDs, put out through different retail channels and, get through Ingram and bigger distributors that are going to have the range to push that product. But the simple reality is there's just not that many people buying DVDs and Blu-ray units. So to be able to go to somebody, pay 15, 20% and know that you're going to be able to make a Netflix deal, if you do your box, your artwork right and you've really hit your genre right, you can probably get it into Redbox. If they take it, they're going to order between 20 and 35,000 units. So right away there, I mean, if you're making a $5 million movie, that's nothing. But if you're making $200,000-$300,000 movie, that's a good step towards recoupment because they're going to pay, a decent price per unit there. And like I said, going direct into Walmart or something, that's where you're going to make the most of your sales anyway, in these different channels. And so there are people out there to go to, but this is not a guy that advertises. You've got to kind of just, know about him or know somebody that, knows him. Well, he is. He kind of is a drug dealer for independent films, but he does well. And I put out 3 movies with him, and we've made money on those things. So, it's not the baseball hat, the branded logo of Warner Brothers or of, Paramount or something like that. But it is a way to make money for independent films that cannot otherwise find an easy method of distribution and do not know how to or do not want to navigate true maverick self-distribution like the Kickstarter people I was mentioning before.
Can I ask each of you how you consume your own movie appetite and how you watch your own entertainment?
Yeah, for me, it's all about time. Yeah, a lot of the time I don't have time to watch, but nothing beats the theater going experience. So they say movies and movie theaters are going to close down. I disagree. I think you're right. If you look at the last 100 movies that were in theaters, released theatrically, 10, 15 maybe weren't huge, reboots or sequels or, weren't big studio movies. So I like story. I love the actual experience of sitting in these comfy chairs. Now they got the iPicks where you can actually order food and kick your chair all the way back, take a nap if the movie's not good. So I love that. Nothing beats that. But I watch so much stuff on planes mainly, and then just on my iPad. So
I was waiting for you to invite me over. I just go to the theater. If I'm home, I'm talking on the phone, I'm sending emails, I'm watching it half. If it's a movie I want to see, I live in Santa Monica, so I either walk to the movies or I just go to one of the movie theaters and watch it there. And if I miss it, I miss it. But it's weird because I have a really good friend in Jordan, and he, as I'm watching the movie in the theater, he's downloading it in Jordan. I'm like, did you see The Conjuring? I'm like, yeah. I said, how'd you see it? Oh, I downloaded it before it came out. It's just crazy what's happening in terms of pirating, especially outside of the United States. These guys all know how to do it. It's nuts. That's a new subject.
I'd say at least 75% of my movie watching experience is done on demand through iTunes or Vudu. And I'd say the other percentage would be divided up between Netflix and actually going to the theater. When you have a kid and you make movies and you have a job and you have all this stuff, half the time you get to watch a movie is 1 in the morning, and movie theaters aren't open then. So
I buy a lot on Blu-ray. I rent a lot on DVD, Netflix. I stream on Netflix, and I try to go to the theater as often as I can. New releases and older, screenings at New Bev and New Art. I got a friend who likes to invite me to the Cinefamily screenings a lot, so I see a lot of odd stuff too. So mostly, I know I got it covered, but I like to buy things and watch them in the highest quality possible in my home. That in the theater, I think, I have a big projector, so I like to try and replicate the theater experience as much as I can. So
I'm not going to lie. I don't really buy that many movies anymore. I do watch a lot of Netflix. I think it's great. I think Hulu is great. I think Vudu, all the cloud platforms are fantastic. Amazon, Instant Video, iTunes, stuff like that. I think it's okay to spend a couple bucks. And I actually have bought probably more on-demand movies through, VOD and cable and stuff like that to pay a couple dollars to see it. I don't go out to the theater nearly as much as I used to. I used to go 2-3 times a week sometimes, and now I'm lucky if I go once a month, just because I'm not drawn there the same way I used to. I do think it is a great way to go, and I do think premium movie going is going to be the way of the future. We're going to have ultra, lavish experiences, food, alcohol, popcorn delivered to your seat, all that kind of stuff. It's going to cost you more money, but you're going to go out for only the biggest movies, only the big giant epics, the $100, $200 million things, and all the rest of the stuff, the little romantic comedies, the smaller movies. It's going to be in the experience of your home in some way. And I don't think we can ever really discount the whole piracy thing. We had an interesting experience with our movie where we had just tremendous piracy, and we actually went try. Kern can talk about this, about actually appealing to the pirates and our experience there.
Well, our movie was released on VOD about 2-3 months before it came out in theaters, and that's how it was, because we had a sort of an interesting issue where we had 2 separate distributors that could not for whatever reason come to an agreement on when it should be released. And so one of them, the Canadians, they put it up on iTunes and VOD a little early, and it immediately got pirated. Immediately. And we're talking, when I looked at, because it's not my first rodeo, I went digging to see where it was showing up on the torrent sites, and I noticed that it was being torrented about the same amount as The Hobbit.
We beat Lincoln.
Yeah, we were being torrented more than Lincoln.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So that's kind of a badge, yeah.
Well,
but
now you know your audience.
an awful badge. So I went on and I said, hey, guys, just want to let you know, because here's the thing with torrenters. They don't differentiate between studio product and indie product. They don't know the difference. They don't care. A movie's a movie. If they want to see it, they're going to download it. If they can't buy it for a reasonable amount, a lot of them, even if they can buy it, they will choose to download it. So the only thing I felt I could do, you can't yell at them. That doesn't help. So what I did is I got on a couple of sites, the bigger ones, and I left messages on all the comments sections of all the torrents that were, especially the bigger, the larger amount of seeders and leechers, which is we calculated it was about 15 million downloads of the movie.
Wow.
Which I was like, if everyone gave us $1, we'd be rolling in dough right now. But
15 million?
yeah, it's studio level piracy. You've got 22,000 seeders and leechers at any given moment, and that was going on for weeks.
I almost feel like I should congratulate you. I mean,
Almost.
in a way,
We were a success, but we didn't make any money.
Yeah.
I know, but
what I did was I went on there and I said, hey guys, we're independent filmmakers. We don't make a lot of money. This is our first feature film. I burned through my life savings to make this thing. I worked on it for 3 years. We've all got bills to pay. Some of us have mouths to feed. If you like the movie, please pay for it, because that's all I can really do, and that's all that we can really do together to keep making movies. And if you guys like movies, please help us support making movies, because if you don't, eventually guys like me aren't going to be able to make movies anymore. And there were some positives and there were some negatives, but what I found is some people defended me to the people who were being negative, which was very nice to see. But we didn't make that much money off of it,
IndieWire wrote an article.
IndieWire picked it up, and
Got picked up by Reddit too.
yeah, I did a thing on Reddit.
see,
one of those
but
AMAs.
that's something I feel like there's a way of monetizing, because
There is. If we knew this was going to happen, we could have done a Louis C.K. thing, but we didn't.
Meaning,
we didn't see it coming.
What do you mean?
Well, what he did was he set up a site where you could go buy his whatever. I can't remember what it was. What was it? It was a concert DVD, yeah. But he's also a comedian brand. He already, so what happens? He put it online and said, "Pay what you want," and people bought it. He made a ton of money. Now we could have done that if we thought that this was going to be a problem. We just, for some reason, we did not even think that this was going to be an issue for us.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know. Look, I made a movie that showed here, and it was for Tom Shoes, and that movie basically started that company. I mean, it told the story of the first 1,000 shoes that we gave away in Argentina. Very heart-moving film. It didn't make money really for the filmmaker, but in terms of the company, it blew it up. But I mean, if there's a way to go to something that you could link with your brand, I mean, that might be the future of.
Yeah, I guess the issue is like giving it away for free opens the door for people to just devalue it completely.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about an alliance with a corporation or something like that in terms of being able to make your movies.
But yeah, I mean, that is an avenue.
But I mean, if you do have a film that can go with either a cause or I didn't, unfortunately, I wasn't one of those 15 million people. I didn't get to see it. But if you do have either a product placement or, Ray-Bans became huge after Risky Business, It's
but for people on like sort of the bottom rung who haven't done a movie yet, like how, I mean, I'm sure that process is daunting.
I understand,
as well.
but I'm thinking that if you did that on your last movie, you could catapult that and say, look, my last movie got 15 million viewers.
Trust me, I'm going to be like, hey.
I mean, like that's something I feel like I could even bank to a corporation, depending on the script. Say, look, we're not going to sell.
The key is going to be like not letting it get out of control like that. Somehow, do something to end up curbing the, the
but I'm thinking about
monetizing.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about redesigning the model. Here.
Right.
So, you want to say something?
Yeah, there's this whole movement called product integration. And that's exactly what it is. Instead of doing your average commercial, now a lot of brands are actually paying filmmakers to make small entertainment pieces and sometimes even large entertainment pieces. So
you're saying let them have it for free on the torrent sites, and it's a giant advertisement for the company.
Absolutely. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it afterwards. Because
sure.
And then also it depends on the size of the corporation, because there are other corporations that want to have an international presence. Mm-hmm. They want to get with an established company or established filmmaker. They want to be able to get their message, their branding, whatever, their logo out, but might not always have the big advertising budget. But they can help fund a small film.
Someone had a question. What do you guys wish for VOD
What was that?
What do you guys wish your VOD distributor did differently? Firstly, to
cooperate.
No, I can answer very, very specifically.
in terms of piracy and also in terms of promoting.
I can answer both. In the case of VOD, they basically told us, yes, we can get you placement on all the multi-system operators, and we can get you barkers and trailers and things like that. Barker's really important. There's nothing in writing, but it's like basically the reason we wanted to do the release window, we set it up, was we're like, oh, awesome. When you turn on Time Warner, you're going to get Tony Todd and Mark Hamill saying, hey, guys, watch Sushi Girl now on Time Warner on demand. And it's like those things work. When movies get that kind of promotion and you get a slot like that, people will go and buy it, because we knew that not everybody would know about the movie. It's an indie movie. We don't have $10 million to spend in advertising, P&A and stuff. And that would have made a big difference for us. But by the time the movie actually got in the slots on the distributors, on the actual platforms, we'd be looking around like, where are our trailers? Where are our barkers? Why is this not running? And then we found out later, well, we can't actually obligate them to run them, but we give them to them, and we hope that they do. And it's just like, because here was this window that was completely obliterated because nobody knew about the movie. Nobody knew it was there, sitting there in these folders waiting to be bought for $6.99 as an Ultra VOD title.
Yeah,
there was a lot of issues like that.
That's a familiar story.
But what was the second part you asked about? Oh, curbing the piracy? Yeah. The distributors. if they would have been honest with us and told us we'll shoot the barkers and we'll deliver them, but we can't guarantee that they'll place them, we probably would have been much more proactive with reaching out directly to Time Warner, Cox, these companies, and making alliances and dealing with advertising swaps. Maybe getting our actors to actually go and promote those service providers directly, or doing some kind of a trade or a swap. Ways to guarantee that we would definitely get that placement, because the MSOs, they know they have the power to do that, and they know they only have so much time to run so many barkers per week, per month. There's so much content coming out there. Every week you've got tons and tons of new movies literally just dumped into the VOD folder, and if there's no one out there promoting, no one with millions of Twitter followers tweeting and hundreds of Facebook fans pushing, you just don't get the attention, and it just doesn't get seen, because you're competing in a giant sea of all these fish swimming. If what? Well, in some cases, yes, but this also goes back to the piracy thing. We were so concerned that we didn't reach our audience. But then after 15 million people pirated it, we realized we did reach them. They just didn't, pay for it. And I think half of it was that they couldn't easily get access to it. Part of it was maybe for our audience, it may have been too high a price. If we would have went out, out the gate with the movie, available everywhere for like $2.99 and donate buttons and download now or pay what you want, or all these different type of models that have worked really well, it could have been a totally different story. We might have made $1 million right off the bat from kind of the opening day of people saying, well, I could torrent it, or I could just buy the darn thing for, $2 right now and watch it. I'm just going to pay the $2. And we did get a lot of people giving us small donations after they had torn it and watched it. But the model we had set up was just a haphazard thing to kind of just, it was like trying to dredge a net through the ocean, but it's got holes in it. You don't, you catch a couple fish, but you didn't get what you could have got. So I think being smart and kind of realizing, what your market, what your people really want to pay for a movie and the value they're going to assess behind it, then knowing how to put a model out there, we might have been able to make $2-3 million easily just from $1 here, $1 there. But you asked about the piracy thing too, and the reaction from distributors. They kind of told us, they gave us the company line of, we have a company that goes after these things and takes down these links, and we actually hired one of our own people to kind of help us to go after and take down links and stuff like that. But the minute you take down 10 links, 15 more just pop up from other people. So you're never really, you can kind of, smash the ones. It's like a pop-up mole game. You can just hit the ones when they come up, but there's just going to be, 10 more that just pop up that, so it's always a reactionary game. There was never really a proactive way of just completely stopping it, because you just can't. It's impossible. There's no one has come up with a system to completely, stop it.
And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is the fact that the complete business of entertainment and how we watch movies and everything is changing. There is no solution to piracy right now. There's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of effort, and there's a lot of lack of effort, and it's not fixed. It's just not. It's part of the unfortunate nature of the beast right now. You're VOD. You're a digital platform. People can steal your movie digitally very, very easy. It's not hard to do. It's just an unfortunate reality. And back to what you were saying earlier, I also come from the TV world, and a lot of what we do in webisodic stuff and on television is a lot of presenting, is a lot of brand integration, is a lot of multi-platform stuff. You're seeing Monster is, got a can in some sort of skateboarders video for 3 minutes that's gone everywhere virally. Ustream is doing syndication to millions of people, and they're starting to look at movies and do movies that way. But the attention span for a lot of those things, a lot of people on the internet that aren't downloading the movie illegally, it's like 3 minutes. So if you guys want to make 3-minute movies, HollyShorts, great. If you want to make a 90-minute movie, there's another wall you're going to have to face. It's just, we're all kind of swimming through it just like the distributors are. Unfortunately, they're more corporate. We at least can try and be the Wild West and try and figure it out on our own.
Well, the model that we were advised to proceed with that our distributors liked is called the premium, the ultra VOD model, where you put it on VOD for a premium price, sometimes up to $20 in the month or two before it comes out in theaters. Personally, after my experience, I think it would make better sense to release it on a regular, like sort of a lesser price point, but day and date with all other platforms, so that people have their option of where they want to get it from. They don't have to pay attention to, it's on this, but it's not on this. If they want to see it, they can just go to wherever they're used to going to see things and pick it up for cheap, and then you get that revenue, whereas they don't know it's in theaters, or they can't find it on the VOD, or they it's a lot. I think what we need to do as an industry is we need to make viewing our movies easier for everybody. And I feel like we're in a place where the music industry was right around the time Napster sort of toppled the old guard, and nobody has really figured out a good solution. And we're going to run into a really big problem as soon as DVD really just kind of kicks the bucket, because that, a lot of people are still sort of doing business with that model in mind, and there is no, there's no real unified system that's going to take over for that. What you've got now is the closest thing we have is like Netflix or iTunes, but there's still like too much political crap getting in the way. So you can't get like Steam for Xbox. You just you go and you buy whatever game you want, and it's like a bunch of different companies, indie people too. The closest thing we have is Netflix, but there's still a lot of arguments going on between different studios and the company. They don't want to make deals. Like Warner Brothers set up their Warner Archive streaming. A couple other people are doing it too. And so what they're doing is they're fracturing the streaming component so that it's still causing issues where people are like, well, I want to get this movie, but I have to sign up for this service, but I don't want to do that, so maybe I should just download it and, maybe buy it if it comes out on DVD if I like it. And it's kind of, we're kind of crippling ourselves, I think.
Has anybody been using the Amazon one? The Amazon download? One guy? How'd it work for you?
I mean, I like Amazon. I'm also a film festival, so it's hard to specifically without a box and handle, and I mean, they're hosting blogs like they're Audible. They have a video with Audible, so I listen to the quotes, and they have a whole conglomerate going on with media. The online TV, the blogs. I mean, I'm a number one shareholder of Amazon, so I actually.
You're what?
He's a little biased.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, they're having a lot of different doing a lot more new exclusive deals with their own series, their own pilots, and
I want to go back to that 15 million download because I've done reality TV, and I did World's Wildest Police videos, and we were happy if we got 700,000 to 900,000 people watching an episode of it. So like with that kind of street cred, if you could go to the sponsors that would fit your demographic and say, hey, look, our last movie, we're going to give free movies away. It's only going to cost you X, Y, and Z, and we're going to integrate whatever it is you sell, whatever car you make or whatever shirt you sell or whatever, and be like, hey, it's a way to make movies not necessarily compromise your vision and not have to worry about all the pirating and all the releasing and all the, all the crap that we have to deal with. It just seems like a good way to stay in business.
Yeah, I do feel that if you're going to do that, though, like release a movie online for free, not just like illegally on torrent sites, but just like legitimately on a website saying, here, have it. You need to have a big brand behind you so that people don't feel like so there's like people go, oh, hey, this is worth my time.
Right, and I say we steal those people from television. Because that's how Bye, Brian. See, that's how television works. Early television, it was Geraldall. They were bringing you all the game shows and whatever. GM was bringing you Bonanza, and it's just that's the model that as filmmakers, if we want to keep making films, I think we're going to have to do, because the piracy thing is just huge. Yeah. So it's like, say you're doing a movie about Abraham Lincoln, you're like, okay, there's this financial institution and we're making a classy film. Maybe they want to sponsor this movie. And every 5 minutes it'll be like, brought to you by Fidelity.
Indie films like indie race cars?
Yeah, seriously. You know how much it costs to do a race car? And that's not a profitable business. But, the sponsors keep it alive because the race car is going to have their sticker on it. So, I don't know. I just think it's one of the ways, if we can't beat the torrents, and you got 15 million people is valuable. That's seriously valuable. And the fact that they didn't pay for it It kills me, breaks
It
my
did
heart.
killed me,
but,
man.
and I feel sorry for you, but I feel like you could leverage that into getting somebody to put up money for your next movie.
And see, we actually have kind of tried to make that effort with using the street cred of having 15 million illegal downloads and having 50,000 Twitter followers and having blah blah blah, and kind of spin everything as much as we can. But again, that's where you kind of hit these corporate walls, because they're not seeing the pirates as the demo that they're going after, and it just becomes it's wall upon wall upon
So
wall.
something that's been happening in the advertising agencies, they're really looking of ways of getting into the internet and reaching people. It's really got to hit the advertising agencies to hit the corporations. So, and they're really unique. I mean, have you followed Tongle at all, or any of these other kind of, like, I don't want to call them avant-garde advertising agencies, but outside the box advertising agencies? And it's like, let's go to them with proposals of how we need them to sponsor the movie. I mean, that's
that's kind of actually what we kind of did in the beginning, because having been on television, every now and then I'll get paid by a company to tweet about a product. I love this product. It's great. And, I'll do like 3 or 4 times, and I'll make a check. Wow. I guess that won't be happening again. We kind of try to do that with Sushi Girl. We try to kind of get that involvement where we could have the product in the film, have the product tweeted about, make it this wonderful, truly integrated thing. And it just seems like, and it could have been the type of film that we were doing, which is also the big problem.
Yeah, I think 2 things I would say to you guys, but for everybody, because I think this is a great case study. And I think part of it is it's 2 things, like who you're pitching to and how you're pitching. They want to hear, you go in the room and you say, do you want your project in front of your product in front of 15 million people? I can do it. That's it. That's the end of the pitch. It's done. So,
in the demographic.
In the demographic, yes.
I'm going to hit 19-year-old boys between 19 to 30-year-old men.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's your pitch. And a lot of the time, yes, dealing with bigger brands, they're not going to feel that. They're not going to see that. So you might want to look at some startups or some smaller companies. And you might have to piecemeal 50 grand from, several different places. But, that is a strong number. And going in there and saying, hey, this is what I can do. This is what we have done. And they're more open to, because if you go to the old guard with a new technique, their brains don't even work like that a lot of the time. You spend a lot of time, because it's new and it's unfamiliar. So, and they're used to going through agencies to talk to the brands and then back through the chain. But if you go direct to the brand and direct to the customer, you kind of cut out all the middleman. So,
yeah, I think that's the biggest problem with torrenting and with these, the 15 million people that we got. It's the fact that most of those people, we have no idea how to properly put them into a demographic. So we could say there's 50 million people, and they'll say, yeah, but maybe 1 million of them came from Israel, and we don't even sell our product there, and 2 million came from Turkey, and there's
no way
1 million.
Getting that data?
Absolutely not. No, it's all. That's the beauty of torrent, is that everything's private, and you cannot get any of that information. You can't even get people's IP addresses to a certain extent, depending on how they're getting bits and pieces of a movie. I mean, it's the whole reason why.
Well,
BitTorrent
the movie's in English, and unless they're translating it to these foreign languages,
a lot of them are. That's a fun one.
I was at the mastering facility for the DVD and Blu-ray that we were doing, and we had a big issue with one of our subtitle tracks because it was just taking forever. It was costing a lot of money, and I joked to the people at the mastering facility. I said, "Why don't you just download the subtitle file online? It's in Turkish if you want it. It's like it's everywhere."
How many languages was this 15 million? How
many. I saw it streaming online in Russian. It was on Hungarian free TV. It was Swedish.
Wow.
It's all over the place, man. There was Arabic. It was even.
Well, they're the best at the translating the movies. I mean, in Jordan, you could go to any street corner, and for $1 which is about $1.30, you could get any movie that's ever been made. At any.
So it's like Santee Alley here. You know, you can go get your DVDs.
And
your
the video store, what he does is he just, what movie would you like that I don't have? And then you go and you're like, well, this one, and here you go.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Your disc will be ready.
15 minutes. I'm like, I produced that movie. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I had big conversations with Asians and with the Middle East in terms of like, the only thing we could do is lower our price to compete with them because they're not getting shut down, but they're still making a profit. So I don't know. I mean, even if we sell them for $1.50, they're going to sell them for 50 cents. It's just crazy. But I mean, with that kind of popularity, Sushi Girl 2 should be a valuable franchise. Right?
So this guy's got a question out there. I think you're absolutely right. I think the biggest problem is that we have so many distractions out there, and never before in any time in human history have we had so many, pastime things to do with our lives. We have 1 billion comics to read. We've got 1 million video games to play, plus every video game that was ever made on emulator. We've got 1 trillion different types of music to listen to. We've got thousands and thousands of programs on television, more every day. We've got every program ever made on television available, on Hulu and Netflix and torrenting. We've got every DVD ever. I mean, there's just so much content out there, plus all the web content, all the short film stuff, all the 2 to 3 minute, little clips, everything, constantly posted, on Reddit that's, oh, look at this image, look at this thing, look at this video. I made this of my cat, Grumpy Cat's got to do, picture up, Grumpy Cat's got to, it's just there's so much out there. So I think you're really competing just for anybody's time on a level that never before seen before. So as in what I just want to just about like the indie filmmaking thing, because I do think there is money to be made, but it's what I call blue collar filmmaking, where you're no longer going to make a really good wage as a director, as a DP, as a this or that. To a certain extent, you might be able to matriculate and move up, and we have a lot of friends that are making a ton of money. I know DP's making $1,500, $2,000 a day, and I'm like, Jesus, I'll probably never see that as a producer at the rate things are going here, and we're supposed to be the guys that have the houses on Laurel Canyon, that have the yachts and, the 6 mistresses and everything else. But, yeah, but I mean, there are a lot of people I know that are making movies for $50,000 to $100,000. They're finding people on Craigslist to help. They've got ragtag crews. They're making them in Alabama, Minnesota, just off way out there in the middle of nowhere with people that aren't even getting paid except like Subway sandwiches, but they aren't doing it for the money. They're doing it because they want to do it. And these people are happy. They're turning out this product, and they're selling it to distributors. They're making a little bit of money foreign, a little bit of money domestically. They're making them for $100. They sell them for $150, $200. They take a little profit. Everybody gets a little taste. They pay their rent. They pay their car payment, and they go and make another movie. And there's a lot of people doing this right now, but I think the key is to find a way to break out and to really find a way to make $300,000 or $400,000 off your $100,000 movie. Because for us, we probably, if we would have made our movie for $200,000, we'd probably be, like in profits right now. But we made it for a lot more than that. Not a ton more, but enough that the recoupment is much, much more difficult, just given the nature of, the revenue out there. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm saying people, DPs that are really good, that do great music videos, great commercials, that are rep by agencies, that's just an example of a DP. But I also know gaffers that are making thousands. People that are, I think if you're good and you stick with your union and you really do, climb the rungs in that sense, there's still an apprenticeship, there's still a sense of community, and there's still, it's so hard to get into those unions, but once you do get in and you are working, your friends, like I call people constantly saying, hey, I need a great guy for this because I've got a client that needs it, and you're just sitting at home, go on a job, and your phone rings and someone wants to hire you for another $1,200, $1,500 a day, and it's just, it's great, it's a good business, but to get to that point, you've really got to, I think, put in the time, you've got to be good at your craft, and you've got to be, one of the best guys, whether it's craft service, whether it's DP, whether it's a gaffer, whether it's a grip. If you're really good at what you're doing, your rate will go up and you will be able to work on bigger and bigger budget stuff.
I was just going to say that I don't think that indie film is going to die anytime soon. I feel that it's the business is in flux. There's a lot of turmoil going on because a lot of people haven't figured out what they need to figure out to really monetize their products. The studios are already making provisions to make lower budget films after the summer of slaughter that we just had. After Spielberg and Lucas predicted that that everything would collapse. Now, I do think that there are going to be a lot of people who are doing indie film that are going to look up one day and say, why the fuck am I doing this to myself, and get out. And they're the ones who probably were not in it for the right reasons. If you love telling stories, if you love seeing movies, if you love sharing movies with other people, I think that, if you stick with it and just suffer along with the rest of us, eventually things will get better. You will work your way up, and you will make movies for real money, and you will be able to pay your bills, and yada, 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 yada. But the problem is digital technology has made making films very easy for a lot of people. It's made it easier for professionals, but it's also made it easier for amateurs. And a lot of people are doing it. And part of the, I'm not saying that that's part of the problem that we're having right now, but, you've got these distributors who are just cherry picking, the best of what's out there and sort of letting the other stuff die on the vine. And once that we get past that phase, I think that's when things are going to become a lot clearer as to where indie film is actually going. Because right now it's a free-for-all.
With, just kind of touching on what expanding on what Cern and Kern said, indie film is far from dead. I mean, I know I'm kind of like the crummy one on the panel that's saying we're all going down this horrible hell pit of no money. But to correct myself, we're all entrepreneurs. We may be artists. We may have these amazing stories we want to tell, but at the end of the day, it's the film business. And we have to all be good businessmen. We can be artists, but we have to be good businessmen. And you can make money making low-budget films. You can make money making independent films. I think that, what Cern said, $25,000 to $100,000. I think it's $25,000 like $400,000. And I think you can get a 30% return for your investors, and I think everyone can get paid. And you can be a real blue-collar filmmaker and actually have a chance at being a white-collar filmmaker. Getting that next step up if you make a good product and you're an entrepreneur and you stick with it and you're talented and you know the business and you know that the business is changing and you change with it. If you get behind the times, you're going to become a dinosaur way faster than a lot of the other guys did. There's a great documentary on Netflix about casting directors. I don't remember the name of it, but I just saw it the other day. I advise you all to see it because it talks about old Hollywood and how everything has changed since then. And it's just, it's all corporate now. It used to be relationships. Now it's all corporate. So we kind of got to become our own little mini corporations.
I was just going to say that to go along with what Destin said, it's almost like everybody who's never made a movie are lambs for the slaughter. You have to basically jump through the meat grinder before you really understand what you're up against and how to fix those problems and how to make sure that you don't do that the second time out.
The film Destin's talking about, I think, is Casting By. It's a really, really, really good documentary. It's fantastic.
Casting By. Yeah.
And what was your question?
Before we go into another, I just want to dovetail off of that. I think one of the things is that, we have to realize that, yes, it's tough. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's hard. And it's movies. And, part of the fact that we're even doing this for a living is because something touched us and something made us believe and moved us and said, wow, I want to make a movie. I want to make a story. And a lot of them are fantastic. And a lot of them are things that just, could never happen in a million years. So we have to kind of take that, I think, into our practice, our business practice. We have to believe in what we want. We want to focus on our end goal and what we want to see happen. Because, yes, there are 100, big budget films out there that are making $300 million, worldwide. But you know what? Every once in a while, there is a paranormal activity. There is a purge. There is, it's those mind reading classes. So we have to, hold on to that, like, childlike belief, like, I believe in magic, that kind of thing. Like, we really have to do that. And I think, as tough that's the thing that gets us through the meat grinder and that gets us through the tough times, is the hope that, yes, possibly it can happen, and that we're doing what we're doing because we love it.
You have to be in love, and you have to be
have
stubborn as hell.
Exactly. Stubborn as hell, and then smart as hell too. So like these small movies, yes, you go straight to your go straight to the distributor. There are so many outlets. There's so much content, but there are also so many outlets. Go directly to them. There's nothing saying that you can't. You might have to be persistent as hell, but go straight to them. Go to a Lifetime or TNT and say, hey, I have this concept. Go directly to them, because that's what the distributors do. All they do is they say, I've got these projects with these people attached that's about this. Which one do you want? They take a bunch and they throw them. So if you go in and you make that personal relationship and you say, hey, I have a project that is this, 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 and this, and it stars this person and this person, and I want to make it. How willing are you to talk about, does it sound interesting? Am I going right down the right path? Would you change this? Would you change that? There are actually a lot more people in the distribution, or I should say there are a lot more exhibitors that are open and willing to deal directly with filmmakers. So go and, like, you know, I always tell a lot of filmmakers, if somebody's going to buy your movie after it's done, more than likely there's somebody that's going to buy your movie before it's done. So before we stress ourselves out and beg, borrow, and steal to put these films together, talk to the people that might actually buy it first, and then see if you can get, you know, a little headway and get a little head start for when it comes time to actually do
That's
the film.
very important, because one of the most expensive things, as some of you will no doubt experience, is making deliverables.
You got to know that list, know that checklist, because you think your budget's, you know, 500,000 and it turns out to be 750 easily.
Yep.
Yeah, easily. So yeah, know that list.
Well, I don't know if it's winning Sundance, but making deals, sometimes, you know, people don't want to buy your film if someone else has already got their hooks in it, you know, like, or is looking at it, or if it's out there in some form. I know people who basically, you know, they did like they self-released DVD, not terrible film, but, you know, they couldn't get anyone to pick it up because it was already selling it on his website, and it was like, they were like, it's out there, you know, it's people are probably pirating it already. Like, why would I want to get involved in that?
I mean, I think it goes both ways. What you're saying, yes, you can totally shoot yourself in the foot by maybe selling 10,000 copies real quick, digital or video or DVD or whatever, and then you think, wow, this is great, and you go to talk to a major. Oh no, you already did it. You've already shot your, you know, whatever, and you're done. But if you were to do an interesting distribution strategy, or rather a marketing sort of pre-sale strategy with Kickstarter, you do fill up a theater, and you can immediately show a distributor that, hey, there are people out there that want to see this movie. I've proven it. I've got, you know, 5, you know, four-walled shows that I did in these towns that we did a Kickstarter thing. There are people wanting it. Distributors always want to go, you know, where the grass is greener and where there's already money. And it's, if they don't have to work, they hate working. They hate getting eyeballs. They hate, you know, doing marketing. And if you've proven that you've got something that is out there, I think that's one of the reasons that we got the distributors we got, which were actually good distributors. You know, Magnolia distributed this movie, Magnet Release, and they put out a lot of good movies. They put out great product. I think we were fortunate to get them because we had done a lot of advertising, and there was already a lot of buzz on the internet about the film, which they knew about. And it's probably one of the reasons they didn't do as much marketing as would have liked, because they figured it was just going to sell itself. So, but they did get it in Best Buy. They got it on there. You could go into a kiosk, and right next to, you know, latest James Bond movie or whatever, you've got our movie. And it was great. The placement was awesome. Does that translate to sales? You know, it depends on promotion, other things, stuff you may not be able to predict. But I think that having, you know, good, strong, outside-the-box thinking to get attention for the film can mean really positive things in the world of traditional distribution.
Yeah, I mean, you really have to engineer a perfect storm in order to really be successful on a smaller scale.
Or Sharknado.
Or Sharknado. Yeah. Because there's just so many elements today that's not, yeah. Question.
Guy with the hat.
Yes and no. I think it's important to investigate any avenue that's going to further your career. Personally, I want to be making larger budgeted films. You know, I'm in it for the big communication. I don't just want to make small, quiet films the rest of my life. I want to do something that's like more visible. And one of my only options to do that really is to try and sort of get into the studio system, and then maybe use that notoriety to then make my quieter films that can then become sustainable. So yes, I think it's important for you to navigate that landscape as well, and don't shun it. Don't say I don't want to have anything to do with that, because it can only help you, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm friends with those kind of people. But the thing is you definitely need to pull depending on how your financing is structured and that kind of thing, you have to, if you're going for actors, you're going to have to deal with them. But are you saying for us as filmmakers that we need representation? I think it depends on the project that you have. So, if you're a writer and you need to get it to the studio, you definitely need to have some kind of representation.
Or if you're a director, I mean, I'm also a director, so I don't necessarily have my next project lined up, but I'm open to seeing what's available that I could theoretically be attached to and move forward with something. Anything that I can do, I'm trying to actively pursue.
So the agents do have the open directoring assignments. So that information is key. You need an agent to kind of find out what's available for a job. So,
just real quick to add on that, I think if you imagine all the agents and managers in this town, and you just take the total number and you cut it in half, there's going to be one half that you probably really don't want to work with, especially if you've already made a quality movie that has some good names in it. Those people are only going to, for a lot of cases, keep you where you're at to do those kind of movies. The other half may not return your phone call. They may not take a meeting with you. So you're really just straddling on that level of wanting to be at, one of the top 5 agencies, where you're going to get attention, you're going to be able to attach people, or you're going to get buried by one of the smaller people, or maybe you're going to get one of the smaller people to spend all their attention on you, or an up-and-coming manager, or someone who's a junior agent, it's going to hip pocket you. There's so many, there's different ways, but I think that is a challenge for a lot of talented independent filmmakers to really get, quality level agents or an independent division at one of the agencies to really spend time and attention developing the talent. And I think that's something that there's probably a little bit less of today than maybe in previous generations. The real issue of agents and managers developing people, but on a high level, but picking people that, I was expecting after Sushigo, we'd all get calls from somebody, at a digital division of a bigger agency or an indie division say, hey, we really want to work with you guys. We want you to help produce this movie for this thing. But, the phones rang about some other stuff and, different
Those are called bill collectors.
Yeah. But, that's I think that there's definitely a place for that. And I'd be hoping to help quality independent filmmakers, the people that, you're talking about, Kern, that want to just sweat it out and get through the meat grinder, matriculate into doing the studio work, into doing the bigger budget work, because we've got the talent to do it, but we need the projects. We need to be connected with the right people, the right resources to make that stuff happen.
5-minute wrap up. Finally, I've been waiting for you. Where have you been? Oh, sorry about that. With me, everything's been different. Everything you can imagine in terms of like a friend, in terms of somebody who knew of me. In terms of like, hey, you want to come with us to Argentina and make a movie? Everything is like complete. Hey, we need you to come with us to China in a month. Do you want to come? Or Haiti or wherever? And I'm on a plane the next day. So it depends on everything. But like the usual suspects, I developed that script. The Way of the Gun, I developed that script with the writer. So that's the way I normally like to do things, is to start with the idea and actually work it all the way through. And I write myself as well. So, but that's, or the other thing I've done a lot of is I've developed a lot of writers who have gone on to have multi-million-dollar careers.
Do they return your calls?
No.
Bastards, I tell you.
Like 25%. I'm like 1 for 4 with email.
Wow. Okay, got it. And I know we're wrapping up really quickly. Same thing. I get mine from every source. I have an agent, so sometimes it comes through the agency. You know, it comes any kind of way, friends, relatives, you know, whoever. But I just wanted to just really emphasize how we have incredible opportunities and to leave no stone unturned. So, you know, pre-sale, bless you. Pre-sale if you have to, talk to distributors if you have to, talk to exhibitors if you have to or can. I shouldn't even say have to. Do it. Just do it. Talk to your audience. Talk to people. Find out what they're doing, what they're interested in. Find brands, maybe it's startups here and there that may have a little bit of money that they can put together. You know, there are certain things, even though you might not know where the 15 million people are coming from, there are certain things like a Coke, unfortunately, that everybody knows worldwide, you know, and there are certain products that people will use worldwide, and it's not restricted by language or geography or what have you. So, and we're truly in a global economy now. So just do everything you can to, number one, live your dream and be focused on what you want to do and the big possibilities, but will it down to being very, very smart and creative on some of the financial aspects and the ways you can make money and get either funding for your film or money back to your investors.
And I can see some of you, you know, more artistically inclined out there saying, I don't want to deal with product placement and things like that. Remember that limitations, they foster creativity. And never forget that you can always work with something, and you can turn something that's potentially horrible into something that's potentially amazing.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge and great experience.